Hello, my name is Stanley Heller. Welcome to The Struggle. We start off with some good news. The student newspaper at Harvard University is called The Crimson, and this last week it came out with an editorial supporting BDS against Israeli oppression. This is a tweet announcing it from The Crimson's editor-in-chief, Orly Marini-Rappaport. In the paper's editorial, there's a ringing endorsement of Harvard's Palestine Solidarity Committee and these words: "Palestinians in our board's view deserve dignity and freedom. We support the boycott, divestment, and sanction movement as a means to achieve that goal." See the full editorial by going to our headlines section on thestruggle.org. We'll start talking about Ukraine with an outrageous comment made by this man, Lavrov, Putin's longtime foreign minister. Lavrov decided the best way to get Israel on Russia's side was to make an anti-Semitic comment. He answered the oft-made point that how could Ukraine be a Nazi state if its president is a Jew? Lavrov said Hitler was part Jewish, and that the wise Jews know that the worst anti-Semites are Jews. To which we made these two memes. The first one reads, "Jackass says the worst anti-Semites are Jewish. Will Putin grant him the anti-Semite prize?" The second reads, "Lavrov, the worst anti-Semites are Nazis, and some of your heroes, Tsars, pogromists, Stalin." Now some ghastly news from the Associated Press. It did a study and it reports that the number of people killed in the bombing of the Mariupol theater was not 300, but more like 600 civilians. This is a photo of the steel mill in Mariupol, where Ukrainians are holding out against Putin's fascist troops. We got the photo from the Ukrainian Solidarity Campaign, along with these pictures from a demonstration in London on April 30th. This is a demonstration in Kyiv in honor of those trapped in the Azovstal steel mill in Mariupol. And a bit of historian Timothy Snyder's explanation on Democracy Now! On May 5th of why you can't just negotiate a happy solution to a colonial war.
Yeah, that's a beautiful point that you're making. I mean, I think when we think about Ukraine and what one ought to do, it then forces us to think back to other even more recent cases like Syria. What ought we have done in Syria, in a comparable case? So in terms of American aid to Ukraine, if the Ukrainians were to capitulate, well, first of all, we can't stop the Ukrainians from fighting. Even if we didn't arm them, they would still fight because they understand that this is an existential war. I mean, whether or not they accept my framework of a colonial war, they see it as a war of existence. So whether or not we arm them, they're going to fight. I mean, the notion that we can kind of turn this on and off like a water spigot is, I think, I'm sorry to say it, but I think that's kind of more American colonialism. Like, we don't actually have that kind of power. We can help them try to win. And that is, on this analysis, that's the best way to try to end this war. Because as we have seen in Bucha and Irpin, in Trostyanets, in Mariupol, and everywhere that the Russians have occupied, they really are carrying out a war in which they are executing local civic leaders, executing men of military age, sending men and women, they on their own statistics, more than 1 million people, predominantly women and children, to Russia, so they will never be Ukrainian again. They're carrying out this war according to principles which the Ukrainians see every day and recognize. Therefore, if it's a colonial war, even if we could get the Ukrainians to capitulate, which,
Tim,
as
we
I
have
say,
10
they
seconds.
won't. Okay, but if they did, all you would see would be the continued colonial genocide of Ukrainians. So I just can't see that something to be wished for.
Timothy Snyder, professor of history at Yale University. His books include Bloodlands, Europe Between Hitler and Stalin, and a revised version has just come out, also author of On Tyranny, 20 Lessons from the 20th Century.
We want to point out a gesture of solidarity by a union with the people of Ukraine. It came in the form of a resolution passed by the Communication Workers of America local in Minnesota. Take a look at it at pepeace.org and perhaps get your union or community group to pass something similar. On April 27th, the British paper The Guardian published a bombshell report by Martin Chulov about a massacre that took place in 2013 in Syria. Some 41 people were blindfolded and then persuaded to run, and they fell in a ditch, at which point they were shot dead. A Syrian recruit was given a laptop on which a video of this massacre had been recorded, and he was so horrified that he risked his own life by getting it out of the country. The murders were done in an Assad-controlled area. The soldiers didn't care. All they wanted to do was terrify people, make a point, quake forever in front of Assad. Well, the video and report got such wide coverage that Assad and his flunkies evidently thought they had to do something. So they announced an amnesty, probably to divert attention. They said that anyone who had been arrested before 2020 for terrorism offenses would be let go as long as they hadn't been found guilty of killing anyone. So hundreds of families gathered near the president's bridge in Damascus, hoping their loved one would be released, or at least they would be able to get some news. But in the end, only 100 people were let go among the tens of thousands that had been sent into Assad dungeons. And none of them were children, even though thousands of children have been disappeared by Assad forces. This tweet from Wafa Ali Mustafa talks about how she scanned the lists looking for her father's name. He's been in Assad prisons for over 3,000 days. On Saturday, May 14th, Promoting Enduring Peace is holding an event in person and online to highlight the treatment of detainees in Syria, concentrating on the story of the Al-Abbasi family, including the parents and 6 children who were disappeared in 2013, and the story of Syrian-American doctor Kam Almaz, who was taken at a Syrian checkpoint in 2017. The program will start at 1 p.m. in Old Lyme, Connecticut. Go to pepeace.org for details. Last week we showed part of the Community Climate Awareness event in the north part of Hartford. This week we'll continue with that event and show some of the spoken word, music, and drumming.
My name is MBS Malay. It stands for Naturally Beautiful and Sophisticated. I know you guys probably don't know me, so I'm just going to tell you a little bit of what I do, right? So I'm an author, I'm a singer, I host different events. I do a lot of things to bring peace and unity to our environment. So I'm very grateful for this opportunity. So thank you guys so much for being here today. I wanted to start off with this piece. Spent years wondering, where is this heaven that you know? But if there wasn't a heaven, where else would you go? There's really no other place with room to spread your wings, to fly above us all and look down on everything. So much happened, so much I can't explain. But I felt closer to you when I swung high on a swing. I felt closer to you when I flew on a plane. I felt closer to you when high notes that I sang. I felt closer to you when I sat on the tallest tree. I felt closer to you when I prayed on my knees. Scared of heights but rode roller coasters to feel closer. When my pain was over, did you help God bring me closure? Yes, sometimes it's hard to keep my composure, but I still feel like I could lean on your shoulder. You watch over. Did you give God a disclosure? When I gave up asking for forgiveness, did you then become my chauffeur? Cause I still can't get over how I'm still alive. The many times that I allowed the devil to ride. The many times I had to choose and couldn't decide. Didn't want to be found. Did you expose the places I would hide? So God would come and save me just so I wouldn't die. Was it you? In that cold, cold October, that month when each day seemed to get colder and colder, did you drive, take over? Did you then become my chauffeur? Asking God to forgive me, asking God to take over. There's got to be a heaven. Heaven's got to exist. I know you're watching, just waiting for my name on that list, waiting for the day when I cease my resist, that day when I fight to exist on the list. Wish to see you again. Heaven only knows your wings are too big and there's nowhere else to soar. To fly above us all and look down on everything. To be closer to us when we're swinging swings or on planes. To catch the high notes up in heaven when we sing. Heaven's the only place for your huge angel wings. So that piece is called Royalty.
Right. I'm not going to talk too much. I'm going to just start out with some saxophone and just tell you that I'm going to be playing music from the last 500 years. Pop music from the last 500 years. And we're going to be doing the Native American art form, which is, of course, J-A-Z-Z. Thank you.
Yeah. Check it, yo. Abolish the police, sex work is not a crime. Immigration officers need to do time. Politicians lie, we gotta act accordingly. But being orderly, maybe God be warning me. I never take heed, cause I'd rather take the streets. I know I shouldn't trust everything they say to me. I know they make us pay for everything they get for free. Pray for me, if you think it's sweet, it's getting savory. Then I tell you that it's Kikio, 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 Kikio is Kikio. Did I tell you that is Kikio, 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 Kikio is Kikio. Did I tell you that is Kikio, 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 Kikio is Kikio. Did I tell you that is Kikio? Yo, why are everybody's lies so believable it's feasible? If you fool me once, I got a deed to do. I'm taking ownership and owning it. Get a hold of it. I'm sticking out my chest even though it got a hole in it. Black soul, feel half whole, climbing a flagpole. That go to hashtag soul, ain't but a tadpole. I'm already hopping with the big dogs, barking with the big dogs. Sometimes I'm pissed off, the world is gruesome. Another new sum, we gotta do something before they kill us. Mortality gets realer. Did I tell you that is Kikio, 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 Kikio is Kikio. Did I tell you that is Kikio, 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 Kikio is Kikio. Did I tell you that is Kikio, 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 Kikio is Kikio. Did I tell you that is Kikio? Yo, why are everybody's lies so believable it's feasible? If you fool me once, I got a deed to do. I'm taking ownership and owning it. Get a hold of it. I'm sticking out my chest even though it got a hole in it. Black soul, feel half whole, climbing a flagpole. That go to hashtag soul, ain't but a tadpole. I'm already hopping with the big frogs, working with the big dogs. Rest in bitch face, sometimes I'm pissed off. Hey, check it. So we a team, now I'm breaking out the guillotine. I'ma take the head, that's what I think a leader mean. I snatch your soul, you can fight with it like Stockholm Syndrome. Be the villain or the victim, the catcher or the pitcher, get raptured or delivered. I told him eat the cake cause I only want a sliver. The kid is selfish, it's something that I relish. I'ma be upfront with you, there's no need to embellish. Too many people on my back as it is. I'm taking care of everybody, I ain't got kids. But I feel like everybody's taking care of me, and I blame the world in the way that it be. We looking at our phones, not looking up to see. I ain't trying to knock it, but sometimes I lose me. Did I tell you that is Kikio, 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 Kikio is Kikio? Did I tell you that is Kikio, 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 Kikio is Kikio? Did I tell you that is Kikio, 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 Kikio is Kikio? Did I tell you that is Kikio, 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 Kikio? Thank you so much.
begin today with photos of spring in two places in New York State. There's an old book with the facetious title, A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. Actually, there's many trees in Brooklyn. No better to see them than in the Brooklyn Botanic Garden. Earlier in the spring, we were in Stonecrop Gardens in Cold Spring, New York, which is north of New York City. It's made up of greenhouses and buildings and outbuildings, and the fragrances of its plants were a welcome after the long winter. That's our program for today. See you next week at this time. I'm Stanley Heller for The Struggle.